So you can see, people, that we're serious and we're relentless. We will not back off, because the most important thing for us is to respect the elderly, be to close the vulnerable, guide and nurture the children, good morals, keep them safe and protect them. So this is a plea to the staff within Oranga Tamaki, not only in Orewa where we are today, but Oranga Tamaki across our nation. If you have serious concerns, we would like to speak to you. We're quite happy to remain confidential. I've got to link out. I have my name. If you are one of those ones that is watching child pornography, or if you've got a heart, you know of the culture, and you might have a crime or something, you've been complicit in this, we can offer you safe passage. We're looking for whistleblowers within the industry. All we care about, whānau, is the elderly, the vulnerable, and our children. We're outside Oranga Tamaki because we care about all people's children. Okay? That is all we care about. There will be no lynch mobs. We do not support or condone any physical violence. But when we find out who's who in the zoo, which is Oranga Tamaki across the board, there will also be no amnesty. There will be a separation of our judiciary and our parliament. And with underneath our existing laws, we know how to deal with people like you. We're not here to break down the system. We're not here to break down Oranga Tamaki. What we're here to do is to clean up the horrific culture that is intergenerational. Now, I am the spokesperson, the co-leader of the People's Opinion Party. And right now, I'd like to hand it over to the president of our party, the great Rob Torkman.
There we go. I just want to say one thing, that I was a state ward when I was a kid. I'm 64 years old now. I was 11 years old when I was put into state care, and I can tell you that the abuse that children get in state care back then is probably not as bad as the abuse that children get today. But back then it wasn't good. It wasn't good that children, an 11-year-old, put into a place where he got beaten up constantly because he was the wrong colour, unfortunately. The checks and balances and the accountability just aren't there. There was Oranga Boys Home. I spent 9 months in Oranga Boys Home. Oranga Boys Home was brutal. And I can't imagine what the homes are like now that the kids are going into. But this abuse that's been going on, where there's been such a lack of care and complete thoughtlessness on the part of those who should know better, has been going on for decades. And I've heard people say enough is enough. Enough is enough about many things in this country, but certainly the abuse of our children, that was never right. It should always have been enough. The very first time it ever happened in this country. Enough is enough. Enough is enough. Our children are our future. Our children are our future. You abuse them when they're kids, you're abusing your own future. You're abusing their future. And fortunately, we don't all replicate the abuse that's put upon us. I'm one of the lucky ones. I managed to get away from that, and it was only basically Jesus found me. That was the only only explanation that I can give as to how it is that I got out of that cycle. But I think I was a fortunate one. That many don't know how to break out of the cycle. But the cycle is perpetrated by the people who work in this institution here. Oranga, Tamaki, Ministry of Social Development. Now, somewhere within the executive staff is corruption. There has to be corruption. If there were no corruption, then somebody would at least be coming out here to talk to us and set us straight. But nobody comes out to talk to us, therefore there's corruption. Those who went down to Parliament ground and stood out there for 3 weeks, and the politicians, all the MPs, every single one of them made a pact amongst themselves to not go and talk to any of the protesters. A pact. Since when in our history has there ever been a time when protesters have gone down to Parliament ground and the opposition haven't come out to speak to them when they're protesting what the government is doing. I'm telling you, it makes no difference whether Labour or National or any connection of these parties are in power. Oranga Tamariki will continue the way it is because the corruption is endemic.
Systematic.
It is right throughout our entire political stratosphere of executives, political elites, the whole lot. And unless we're prepared to face the hard questions and have the hard conversations, we will never move forward. We're here to move forward. So we have to face the hard questions and we have to have the hard conversations. And this is a hard conversation that should have been had 4 decades ago.
Yes.
Sorry, 5 decades ago when I was a kid and I went through it. All right, 50 years, and what has changed? I'll tell you what's changed. It's got worse.
Amen.
I've said my piece, but I ain't finished. But I'm finished for now. Thank you.
So far, no. Here's something that only for anyone that cares about us to come out and talk to we the people. There was threats that the people there that had their children, Oranga Tamaki had sent down spies and they were threatening they would remove these children from the occupation. How's that for us? Absolutely disgusting way to try to bully people away. Now, Mr. Chipkins, Chris Hipkins, he also protested back in the day outside the Parliament. He got beaten him up by the cops. He took him to court and he got damages to the tune of about $200,000. If there is not a separation between the Parliament and the judiciary, it's just not illegal to peacefully protest. We're encouraged to go to the beehive to be heard. That's just where we're meant to go. But when we get smashed over by Right Squad, it was the great aggressors, were not us. We were singing love and peace. It's as then they came down in the middle of the night with their Right Squad and started smashing over women. We've all seen the footage. They used EMF noise weaponry on us, and mainstream media have reported that it was well above the safety level. I know someone whose ears bled for 2 weeks. How dare you send Oranga Tamaki down there to threaten to take away the children of the people that are camped up on, we had toilets, we had a shower for a day till the police came down and smashed it over.
Yeah, we got another Portman charge.
So you do not threaten our people. You do not send Oranga Tamaki spies down there to take photos of all the parents that are trying to stand up for their people. I remember the beginning of this whole load of crap from the last 3 years. It was Bloomfield that came out and said, wear a mask if you want, but they don't work. All of a sudden it's mandated. It was Jacinda Ardern that came out and said there will be no discrimination for those that choose not to take the jab. Before the jab came, and then she mandated it. And the worst thing that she did is what she did to the police. Because unlike Australia, where they were deemed essential staff and they were jabbed, very beginning, like we did with our border security, the police were jabbed at the same time as us. So if you've been at the occupation and you worked on the date of the riots that the police started, they started the fires, and you see someone like me, don't come by me. We have lost any type of respect. We cannot treat you decently. If you did not go and serve on that fateful day when the riot started and they removed all of us and took our vehicles, beat up our women and children, Heidi Mine come. We want to thank you for not going. Steve Evans, have you got anything you'd like to say? This is the greatest man.
Oranga Tamariki is the most lawless, corrupt, out of control ministry in New Zealand. The reason that we're here is we've got ministers in the Parliament that support children being returned to violent parents and history of drugs where they've neglected their children and not supported the wider whānau that could actually take care and look at those children. In my own case, this morning when I was talking to the police man at Orewa, he said that I had the date wrong. They just didn't realise this was warm-up because they were monitoring our passports. But when I tried to explain to him that I wasn't impressed with the New Zealand police at all because of their criminal behaviour, because they used my children in Operation Phantom, which was a drug operation where my 6 and 12-year-olds were used, and I ended up in the family court for over 8 years. Natalie Turrell, the dirty little scumbag who works in here, was the first person I met from Oranga Tamariki in Takapuna, Whitesville. I went to her and I said, listen, this is above your pay grade. There are drug dealers with firearms around my children. And she didn't do anything. Then the school, a Catholic school, reported that I had told my daughter. That didn't happen either. It was investigated by the psychologist and by the police. I'd never, ever done that, but I had shouted at my daughter because I discovered she was lying about where she was living, and I was terrified because I knew she was living with drug dealers with a history of firearms. You know, these weren't even New Zealanders. These were foreigners, and they're sitting in Spring Hill at the moment. The problem I've got is, are these people going to be kicked out of New Zealand and their passports taken off them, or are they going to be kept here in New Zealand to make more drugs? And when are we going to be able to hold these social workers to account, like Lucy Liu, a foreigner, who withheld the information from the court when they had the information, a police intelligence file on the 14th of November 2014. It's disgraceful. Lucy Liu, you need to be run out of New Zealand. Mark Posto. And then you get the police. You know, people like Lindy Lawn. You know, they're not supposed to enter the National Intelligence Database unless for curiosity reasons. But she entered my NIA 126 times. And we've got it all documented. But the difficulty in laying complaints to the systems of Oranga Tamariki, the New Zealand Police, the IPCA, you know, the Ombudsman is huge. And the step for many is just too much because they're already traumatised by being abused. And we've been at the Royal Commission, and the Royal Commission should come out on the 14th of December, and it should be telling you that the failure of the state organisations are epidemic. The quality of those taxpayer-funded employees is appallingly low. If they were working in any other organisation, private organisation, they'd be given the sack. And the reality is that we've got to clean out the trough. There's too many useless, incompetent people working in Oranga Tamariki, working in the New Zealand Police, and working in the Ministry of Justice. And they are really important ministries that if you don't have them running and functioning well, you will never have freedom. Because without justice, you can't get freedom. And they are all being paid for by our taxpayers' money.
Yeah.
It's got to stop. And I support all these other groups out there, and I do thank the freedom movement, because I think that they did one really powerful, or two actually, really powerful things. They were able to galvanise the people against the state, and they were able to have the Freedom Village, which I went to, and it was the most peaceful, kindest, loving place, and it restored my respect of what New Zealand used to be like, because it sure ain't that same place anymore. That's all I got to say.
Amen.
So let's talk about recent law changes. And that suicide now is called accidental death. So did our children accidentally tie the hangman's noose and accidentally string up that rope and accidentally jump off the chair and hang themselves, did they? That is designed especially to stop the true statistics of youth suicide, but not only youth, predominantly youth suicide within our system. We have right now a government that is sitting under urgency. There are 29 legislations. There's only one reason why the voting age has been lowered to 16, because these people that are indoctrinated in the cult that is the far left, that is their support base. Now, unlike the last election that's dodgy, we realise that there's so much focus on this one. The only way that Jacinda could stay in power, the corrupt left, Labour, with the Aotearoa Māori caucus, Pātai Māori, the Greens, the only way they can stay in power is to get the youth vote. What about euthanasia? What about euthanasia? Overseas now, they're going to bring it in here. If you've got mental health, you decide when you're stressing under their mental health that you don't want your life, you can be euthanized. But you see, just like the gene conversion therapy and things like this, a lot of these people that go through this, look at what they're doing in our education system. They're teaching pornography at 5. In Christchurch right now, for 14-year-olds, one of the questions is, if you are heterosexual, how do you know, and you've never slept with someone of the same sex, how do you know that you're not a homosexual? This is the teaching that they're teaching. Just like you can have an abortion through the schoolhouse care at 12 without any parental knowledge or consent. This is what we're dealing with, whānau, and this is the fact. Don't trust me, do your own research, have a good look through. Again, what sort of government will purposely change legislation to hide the true statistics when it comes to suicide? You cannot call that suicide accidental death when people are hanging themselves, whānau. They don't just miraculously find a rope and accidentally stick their neck in it. This is corruption. Corruption 101. National and Labour are exactly the same. The Greens, Pātai Māori. There is no one that represents us in Parliament at the moment that cares about the people. One of the sitting MPs would have come out and addressed us at the occupation. Is there anything you'd like to add while talking?
No, that's it.
You can see that my emotions are getting higher, and I'm aware that to do a good job here, I must lower it. So we're going to play some very nice music.